Did you think about this casually? You just said, I'm going to write the way I speak, or the way in which people would speak today.
Ramcharitmanas was actually not written in Sanskrit, right? It was written in Awadhi, which was which was the average language of that era. Not my job to show off my research, just make it easy, right? And if you use modern language, you just make it easy.
Turning to yours, Amish, what's very interesting, in fact, your use of the word kick-ass in the conversation is what struck me. You are totally unabashed about very modern language being used in a story of 5,000, 4,000 years ago. Yeah. Did you ever think twice before you put in good policeman, bad policeman, and you know, good cop, bad cop? Policemen were only invented in the 19th century, and here you've got these Indian characters in 1500 BC or whatever talking about good policeman, bad policeman. So tell me, I mean, did you think about this casually? You just said, I'm going to write the way I speak, or the way in which people would speak today.
You know, I'm not so sure I thought about it so much. I just wrote in a manner that comes naturally to me. Mm-hmm. But if you actually think about it, there have always been two schools in how you would approach prose, at least. In fact, actually, even poetry. So, Valmiki ji, for example, Valmiki Ramayan, which is the original Ramayan, is in Vedic Sanskrit, follows that meter perfectly all the way through, the Anushtup meter, and was so beautiful in its descriptions. There are plays you'd read of Kalidasa in Meghadutam, for example, who follows exactly the metaphors that Valmiki ji used, right? It shows how much of an influence he had even on that language. But the most popular version in North India, at least today, is the Ramcharitmanas, right, of Goswami Tulsidas ji. I'm sure everyone knows Ramcharitmanas was actually not written in Sanskrit, right? It was written in Awadhi, which was the average language of that era. And
sort of it's close to Hindi as well.
Yeah. And I thought that was actually very innovative in a way, because the purpose of an author, of a writer, can be that I just want to convey the philosophies and the story across, and the language is just a means to an end. It's not an end in itself. And if I make it easy for the reader, they can get into what I actually want to convey much more quickly. And that's not just in terms of the language, even in terms of the terms that I use. Right? Like, for example, Go Vidal, right? I'm sure many have read Go Vidal out here. Yeah. So, and in Go Vidal's Julian, one of his finest books, he doesn't use the term Mediolanum, he uses Milan, right? And in many other ways, like he uses modern terms. The entire, I guess perhaps, his entire idea would have been, not my job to show off my research, just make it easy, right? And if you use modern language, you just make it easy for the reader. Maybe that was the perspective. But this is, you know, a post facto justification. I'm not sure I thought about it.
But you know,
I just wrote it in a way that...
I'm also curious about some of the sort of the scientific knowledge that comes in. For example, you've got, I think, Vibhishan constructing pipes for the capital city of Lanka, which are made of lead and which start slowly poisoning the population. Is that an Amish invention? Is there any reference to lead poisoning in any version of the Ramayan?
You know, no, not Ramayan. But actually it was, you know, I love, because I read a lot. I read 5-6 books per month, and I travel a great deal. And you know, all that research knowledge goes in somewhere in the back of the mind. And I love drawing on knowledge from different places to make make a situation more real. So there is this theory that part of the decline of Rome was because of slow lead poisoning, which they didn't know. But I don't know how many have read that theory. Because they'd started using lead pipes for water, which slowly led to lead poisoning. And I thought that was just something really interesting. And I thought, why not put it in Lanka as well? It's one of the things that made them weaker, and because of which they lost the battle. I think in some ways how you, you know, I remember the scene of even Kashmir, the ascension, you know, how you showed a certain royal's attitude, matching it to something in Mahabharata, and therefore how it would, if you actually make it real, if you actually show actual human foibles, actual human mistakes, then the place itself, the story itself becomes far more real, I think, for the readers.
Yeah. But then
I'm not saying I think about it deeply. It's just that there are these ideas and they just emerge in the story.